I'm ready whenever you want. If you want, we can start with the big spin front board down the 14.
Okay, let's start with it,
Sweet.
man.
Chronologically speaking, your relationship with the Pontiac Central High School 14 stair handrail began maybe what, around 2010, if you want to trace it back to skateboarding?
Think 2010. Yeah, rest in peace, Pontiac High School. All the amazing spots there. I remember we got there, and I just really wanted to front board it. I told Kyle, all right, I'm gonna try it in the line, and once I land that perfect half cat flip, then I'll try front boarding it. And the first one that I tried, I attempted to land and just tail snapped, and I didn't have an extra board. I've never been able to be someone that can use someone else's board. So I was done and never tried it again on a skateboard.
First time that you would have actually jumped on the 14 rail, was it while we were filming you try that line?
On a snow skate, yeah, that would have been the first time. And I think you and I were in Detroit just for like a weekend. That would have been the year before. So that would have been 13, 14. I don't know if it was the same thing that I kind of needed to get myself a little bit like juice, so that ollie over that rail was kind of my, um, kind of like that same thing with the half cat flip, like to get amped to try to front board it. And I knew that I really wanted to do big spin front board, but I don't think I was super comfortable with that trick that first year of SAVA. Like I had been doing that trick for years, and I always had thought I would love to big spin front board this rail.
When I think of that trick, I think of you, and I'm sure most of our peers and maybe a lot of people who just pay attention to snow skating would associate that trick with you. So it is kind of surprising to also hear you say like I didn't feel that comfortable with that trick because I'm sitting here thinking about how you've done big spin in and out of a handrail like the first year I ever met you.
Well, so it's funny because that trick, if I'm not doing it every year, I feel less confident with it, which is kind of expected, right? Even like 2 winters ago, I big spin front boarded the Pfizer 9, and it was scary because I hadn't done it on a handrail since the 14, because I thought I'm not going to do anything bigger than that. And so it had been, yeah, I mean, like 9 years, I guess, since I had actually done one. And so I think the first year of Sava, I think I just did it way too much leading up to the video, and I'm like, okay, I need to chill on this trick, right? I think that first year I looked at the rail, I thought that'd for sure be a great last trick to big spin front board the 14. It's kind of that like childhood. I mean, Joe, that was an iconic clip that he nollie front feebled it in 2008, and which was still like just amazing. And so we had a long history growing up with that school and with that rail. But I think for me, that would have been the biggest I'd probably think of going.
Today I was going through Aaron Schaefer's photos from that era, and there's a
Mm.
photo of me and you and Kyle Kearns shoveling the stairs with one of you front boarding it. And I'm sitting here wondering, like, okay, we'd been to this spot multiple times. I'm like, which one was this?
I think that would have actually been the first time I tried it. It was warm that day. It's kind of like, when it's 25 out and then the sun comes out and it's super slushy. And I knew it was bad conditions. And what happened was, because it was warm and, right where I popped kept getting packed and deeper, right when I popped, I basically went away from the rail because it was just bad conditions. You can hear the wet grip. I big spinned and then got on the rail super wonky and then kicked out, kind of rolled my left ankle on the bottom step. And I remember hitting my ear on the end of the rail. I was super discouraged. I remember being incredibly anxious before trying it. And I think knowing, oh, we're so far away from home. I don't have a last trick yet. I want this part to really count. Aaron's here to take a photo. Kyle's got a second angle. And didn't work out, man. Didn't work out that first time. Then 2 weeks went by. I shoveled it all out and I prepped it first during the day. Front boarded it, the front board that Thrasher posted. I remember like I wasn't planning on skating. I think because I had glasses on too. I just, made that drive. I wasn't really planning on it. And then we went back that night with the whole crew, and that's when it happened.
Can we talk a little bit about Thrasher posting it? Because up to that point, there was no crossover with, like, I guess you could say, like the core skate world and snow skating.
I can't remember how they got it, but I have a feeling that Jackson sent it to them. You know, at that point, I had been riding for Pyramid Country for about a year, and Jackson would send stuff to Tony Vitello at Thrasher, and that's how they got it. That makes the most sense around that time.
I remember
Yeah,
that hard post being like a boost in morale. We were all really stoked to see Thrasher kind of
super cool.
validating what we do.
Yeah.
I gotta imagine some of that energy bled into the night, and then you were like
Oh
extra
yeah.
hype going for the trick.
Yeah. And you know, the fact that the whole crew was able to be there. I love footage at night. Alan was able to shoot it on Super 8. Yeah, there was like probably like 12 people there, I think. That was a good crew, man. That was a memorable session for sure. Yeah, I think we got there. I mean, we drove there for that. We didn't light anything else up, I don't think. I think we were there probably for a total of like an hour or so. I don't think it was super long, but I remember the conditions being perfect. It was, you know, that crunchy. I think it was a little bit maybe warmer during the day. So then at night, you know, it was that perfect crunchy, dry snow. I remember front boarding it a couple times. I 50'd it and just, dude, everyone down at the bottom, you know, I think you were at the bottom and just encouraging me. I remember we did have a second angle down there too. Alan was filming up top. I mean, having Alan on a session, like, even though we knew Alan very well at that point, it's still going to get you so juiced, you know, to have him there. And then I believe the first time that I tried it, I like stuck it, rolled a little bit and fell off or something. I remember one of the attempts, the same thing, not as bad, happened where I undershoved. So, you know, shove it almost not to front board, shove it to like, you know, kind of a half front board. And the same thing happened, and that freaked me out. I remember just screaming, like, all right, we're done with that. Refocus, you know, don't want to think about that again. I also remember thinking after that one, I'm gonna really overshove because if I get into like a big spin hurricane, sure, whatever. You know, I knew like, okay, if I go really fast, then I'm reducing the risk of falling in the stairs, right? And but I think for one of them I did go really fast and it was making it very hard to land. And so it was kind of like, dang it, like there's no shortcut. And then I think I did it. It was not the way that I liked. I think my arms were everywhere. And then I think, having a little bit of trouble, you know, like getting the one I wanted. It took a little bit, and then finally got the one that I really, it felt good, and just fell in the snow after, so relieved and like so stoked. Like just to have all the homies there and to know, okay, I've been trying to film the best part I could. I feel like I got a last trick that like that's kind of the best I can do right now. And then from there, like, you know, filming is just no stress after that. Like I got the hard part over with because I knew, man, there was like 2 weeks left filming for that video. And it's kind of over at that point. So
You've just done so many memorable tricks in snow skating throughout the past, I don't know, 15 years or whatever it's been. Does the big spin front board down the 14 hit the podium of like your personal favorite tricks?
I can confidently say I would never do that again. So definitely for me, like one of my highlights, I guess, in my snow skating, there's definitely tricks that were way harder that took way more time. But I feel like that one was probably the scariest I've ever done, probably the biggest relief. And so I'm super grateful that I was able to get that. It was in that video. I felt like that video we worked so hard for. I look back on that and it brings me happiness and good memories, you know, knowing that I was able to have a vision for a last trick, do it, and then just wrap the part up, you know.